Almighty Father God, we call on you today to bless our council and all of us who are engaged in the work of running our great city. Grant that we may order all things in your wisdom, righteousness and peace, to the honor of your name and the good of your people who dwell here. Amen. Good afternoon, councillors and management, members of the Fourth Estate, and residents who are present. This afternoon, I want to address a single topic in my opening remarks, and that concerns efficiency in governance. Because it is a matter of deep concern to me, and I'm sure to all of you. And I want to touch on four areas. The first relates to Glass Block Dam. We have debated this at length in this council, and we are all aware of the resolutions that we have taken, the meetings that we have held regarding Glass Block Dam. As a preliminary remark, as we sit here on the 5th of March 2025, we know that despite over 650 millimeters of rain which has fallen on our city, despite that great blessing by God, our dams remain approximately half full. They are sitting, I believe, just over 50% at present, marginally improved on the situation that prevailed this time last year. And as we can feel sitting in even this room today, how warm it is, and as we look at the blue skies outside, sadly, it does not appear as if we can expect to receive much more rain. We pray for that, but we cannot expect it. And if anything demonstrates the need for Glass Block Dam, it is this current situation that we are facing here. Despite all this rain, we remain in a critical situation. Nyamandlovu is performing under capacity, and Gwashangani Dam, whilst a wonderful long-term project, remains far off completion. And by Gwashangani, I refer not just to the construction of the dam, but also to the construction of the 257-kilometer pipeline, which has to go up a head of 600 meters. If you speak to any water engineer, they will say that that is the biggest engineering project, the construction of the pipeline, not so much the dam. And whilst we congratulate government for the work that it is doing and the commitments that we've seen from government, the harsh reality is that Gwashangani will not deliver in the short, even in the medium term, what we need. Now, at the outset, I said that I wanted to speak about efficiency and what is the relevance of that to Gwashangani and to Glass Block Dam. As councillors know, the town clerk, the director of engineering, and I, along with representatives of the Ministry of Finance and ZEDA and the construction consortium, addressed a meeting in Morocco in the first week of December, 3 months ago. At that meeting, we received a very favorable response from Standard Bank South Africa, which indicated an interest in investing some $50 million in the dam, and a further expression of interest from the African Development Bank, which was interested in investing a further $33 million. Of deep concern to me today is despite the passage of 3 months since that meeting in Morocco, documents which are necessary to be signed by government to facilitate the loan, and I'm not going to go into details, but I am aware of them, have not been signed. Commitments made to facilitate this are outstanding. And if we hope to be a smart, transformative city, as we say we are, and country, and government, then it's critically important that we do not take 3 months to facilitate basic documents, basic contracts. And so my appeal today to the government is to move with all speed. But unfortunately, we are also to blame as a council. There are documents that we ourselves should have done regarding the water offtake purchase agreement, which have taken weeks to do and are still, as of today, I've been advised, have not been completed. And so we cannot look to others as well. We have to look to ourselves. And I'm sure, councillors, that I speak for all of you, because you are the interface with residents who are on 133-hour water shedding, many residents who go weeks without water, and we are answerable to them. This is a matter of life and death. This is not a partisan matter. As I've said often, water has no color. Water has no political alignment. It's needed by everyone. And so my appeal on this first point regarding efficiency is that we as councillors, we as management, need to rededicate ourselves on these critical areas to move with alacrity and to get things done and not to let things drift. Because I fear that we may lose this international funding. And if we lose that funding, government has already indicated that it does not have the resources to build Glass Block Dam. And that would be a tragedy for this city. The second issue I want to address this afternoon relates to the council budget. If you look at your minute today of our last meeting, you will see that this was raised in my preliminary remarks at the beginning of February. We are another month on and our budget still has not been approved. We have provided government with a detailed comparison of all our charges, our tariffs, our license fees, compared to Harare and Mutare and other major urban centers in the country. The deputy mayor, the chair of the finance committee, and others were in a meeting on Friday when we went through those figures with management. Those figures demonstrate that our charges, at worst, are equal to the charges raised by other cities, and at best are lower than charges raised by other cities. And so the question I have once again for government is, why are we another month in without our budget being approved? It has dire consequences for our city. Every other city has had its budget approved, and yet they have charges in many respects higher than ours. And the consequences, as we are seeing as councillors, this week I had a message from Coronation Cottages, which is an old age home. Their rubbish had not been collected. The reason, when I inquired, was because the company that we had contracted to collect that rubbish had not been paid, could not be paid. And as a result, rubbish was piling up at an old age home. And there are other consequences of this in every sector of our city. It is intolerable. And we question why our budget has not been approved. And so my plea to government is once again to act with alacrity. I believe that we have done everything as a council to meet the justifiable concerns of those who objected. And we have demonstrated that our city, in fact, is cheaper than other cities. And so we urge that this budget be approved. The third area, still on efficiency, and forgive me for laboring this, deals with management. We have a very good relationship with the town clerk and the chamber secretary, and this is not personal, directed to any individual. But I am deeply concerned on numerous issues where we have expressions of interest from third parties on potential projects. And we seem to drag our feet in our responses or give one-line responses. I find a disturbing culture regarding the treatment of emails. We need to understand this is 2025. We are not living in 1980. Emails are the means of communication of the modern world. They must be treated with the same attention as one would treat a written mail. But I find often personally that emails are not responded to. Not by all. Some are good at responding to emails. The Deputy Mayor and I have just been in a meeting with a resident from Ward 8. I'm not going to go into the details. Suffice it to say that he wrote to our management in 2023 regarding a project to establish a medical facility in Ward 8. And he told us in the meeting that he, to date, has not received a formal response to that letter. That is unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And so if we're going to be a smart, transformative city, I call on management, please, to deal with this. But it's not just management. Let's look at ourselves, Councillor, and this is the fourth and final issue when I appeal to us about efficiency today. We are called city fathers and mothers. We are elected, all of us, or appointed. We have particular responsibilities. People look to us, not for casualness, but for servant leaders. And we need to demonstrate the very highest levels of efficiency ourselves and integrity. In this meeting with the Deputy Mayor, I expressed to the person that my desire is that residents, when they've got issues, be they sewerage problems or water problems or newsstands, will work closely with their councillors in the identification of problems, and that councillors will play this critically important role to interface. But councillors, as I've appealed to management, also have to demonstrate the highest standards and not to just treat approaches by residents casually. And we ourselves need to have the same culture. This is the modern age. I've been astounded that the poorest people in our city seem to have access to email and use email. But we have a casual way in terms of how we respond to that. So forgive me everyone for a bit of a lecture. I try to hold myself to the same standard. And if you don't feel that I'm acting how I preach, by all means, tackle me. But what I'm trying to encourage all of us, government, ourselves, management, is we can only tackle the major problems that we face as a city if we ourselves are efficient and aspire to the highest possible standards. The Chamber Secretary has reminded me that I have forgotten to welcome our newest councillor. I haven't had the privilege of meeting her yet, Councillor Agnes Mutsaka. You are welcome, Councillor, and I look forward to your constructive involvement in our council. Thank you. Mokoro koto amhlope. Right, let's move to our agenda.
Thank you, Worship. The question being the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 5th of February 2025, attached as Annexure A and marked pages 8 to 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a mover for the minutes?
Sign, Worship.
Thank you. Right, we move to agenda item 2. Would the Chair of Future Water Suppliers please move their report?
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee held on the 4th of February 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained then be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, ma'am. Is there any debate? What item, Councillor?
Item 1.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, you have elaborately painted a picture of what we are going through as the city of Bulawayo, insofar as the status of our dams is concerned. And we are midway into the season, and the picture is not looking good for us, like you have correctly said. I read the report, and under item 1, there is a reference to Incisa Dam. Incisa Dam having a challenge. It is said that there is a cast iron spore valve that is leaking, which is going to compromise its holding capacity and its ability to store water. That is problematic, and I believe that there is need for us, as the report has well captured it, to expedite the procurement of the essential components that are going to remedy the situation. The other concern is that of power cuts, which are affecting our pumps. Most of our dams across, the corridors, even up to Nyamandov, you find that our capacity to pump water into our reserve is seriously compromised by the power cuts. And I find that quite concerning, considering that we have been called several times to up our game in terms of service delivery. But now here is the conundrum that faces the local authority. Power supply challenges, the cuts that quite oftenly, hamper our efforts to pump the water. Is there a possibility for our pumps or our pumping in our dams to be exempted from power cuts, so that we can constantly be able to pump water into our region. Because I believe that we are talking about people's lives here. We are talking about an essential service. Just like what happens in a hospital. You cannot have a hospital shaded of power because of the essential services that the hospital. It's a matter of life and death. I believe the supply of our reservoirs has to be treated in pretty much the same way, so that we constantly are able to pump the little resources that we have into our dams. Can we have our dams and our pumps exempted from power cuts? Thank you.
Okay, it's on item 1, status of water resources. I would want to make a contribution on water bowsers. I'm quite sure that maybe my contribution might actually be directed to the engineering department, but now that this is more like an intertwined thing, I thought maybe I should just make my contribution on the water bowsers, where it's said that we could do 7 water bowsers and only 2 are functional. Your Worship, if you recall, I think our first meeting sometime in 2023, we found the situation more or less the same as what it is today, with 2 bowsers and out of the 7 which we have. I just wanted to ask you, what is the main problem behind this shortage of bowsers? Because I believe that as we speak right now, we are actually midway through our rainy season, and there is a low demand of Ilusiama bowsers compared to sometime last year when it was hot and our water shedding was at its peak. And I think that I would want to believe that this is the most appropriate time when we should be dealing with these issues to do with water bowsers. And water bowsers serving a population of 1 million people. You know, our city is growing. I just wanted to understand from the department also, and also maybe, like I said, it's actually more of an engineering issue than to do with the future water department as a committee. I just wanted to understand what could be the problem behind us having 2 bowsers for a long period, because I'm saying, like, when we got into office sometime in 2023, the situation was the same. And now it's 2 years down the line, there's no improvement on the side of bowsers. I would want to believe that something needs to be done right now when the demand for these bowsers is actually low, because we are going to get to a point where we need more bowsers and we need water on the ground, and we are unable to attend to these issues just because we don't have enough bowsers. Can this be rectified? And also, if possible, Your Worship, I would want to propose that maybe we also need departmental meetings where we can sit and discuss maybe issues to do with engineering as a full council like this, and we just come here, we discuss issues to do with a certain department so that we can actually get to the bottom of some of these issues. We come here, we just hit on the surface, we get answers, and then we wait for another 30 days to come and discuss the same thing again. I think we need to get to the bottom of this. If there are issues, we all get to know the issues, and then we also try to propose solutions so that there can also be some progress check on the things that we do, what we have proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Before I give the floor to others, I do want to use my prerogative to respond to you, because it touches on my theme of efficiency. The chair of engineering knows that last week he and a few councillors met with the director of works to look at a new technique for filling potholes. And we were told in that meeting that we have 10 compactors, you know, these machines that compact the gravel down. The council has 10 machines, not one is working. And I was told by the director that he's deeply frustrated by it, that apparently the one machine needed repairs costing $15, literally $15. And I suspect that the same is the case with Bowsers. That there'll be some of our Bowsers that need minimal repairs. And once again, this is not just management, because I'm told that a lot of our problem is with PRAS, that applications are made to the Procurement Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe. I don't know whether that's the case on Bowsers, but I do know in other sectors where we apply for permission and we will take 5 to 6 months before we get a response. That is unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And on your issue, Councillor, I'd be interested to hear from the chair. But we need to conduct an audit of a lot of our machinery, not just Bowsers, right across the board, to find out what can be repaired for a relatively small amount of money. And then we need to give attention to that and see what obstacles are there so that that machinery can be repaired urgently. Further debate. No further debate on this? Do we move the report? Would you like to respond, Madam?
Ngiyabonga, Your Worship. Ngiza khuluma okulutshwana on item 1 okukhulunywe ngeinsiza ukuthi ngeke sa exemptwa na kuma power issues laphana. Esikhathi sesixoxisane labo kaningi abe-ZETDC on ukuthi ngabe ngasincedisa ukuthi singasweli ipower endaweni zethu, kodwa ke lizananzelela ukuthi indaba yepower is not even affecting uBulawayo kuphela. Luhlupho oluphakathi komuzi waseZimbabwe. Mhlawumbe labo okubahlulayo angeke mbaphendulele kangaka, kodwa bathe bona basakukhangele, they noted it. Then okwamabhawuza usekhulumile umeya laphana, asilama space okulungisa amabhawuza. Ibhawuza elinye lishort gearbox, elinye ama-studs nama-nuts, elinye lishort ama-clutch pads. Kodwa izinto esingelazo ukuthi abuyele emgwaqweni asevise uBulawayo. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Can we move that report?
Move.
Director of Health, Housing and Education. But before you stand, I would like to just acknowledge the sign language interpreter present here today. This is an innovation, and we are pleased that we are more accessible to people who have hearing difficulties. Today, Chamber Secretary, I had an approach from people who have visual impairments with a further proposal. And for those who were at the opening of the lifts on Friday, you will know that we want in short order to get the lift functioning here so that physically disabled people can come and attend our meetings, which they can't at present. But sir, you're very welcome, and we're grateful that you are here today. Thank you. Would the Chair of Health, Housing and Education please move the report?
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Health, Housing and Education Committee meeting held on the 11th of February 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations therein contained therein be adopted.
Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, ma'am. Is there any debate? Councillor. What? 12. Is there anyone who wants to debate anything before item 12?
Yes, item 5.
Okay. Anyone before item 5? No? Councillor, you have the floor.
Thank you once again, Your Worship. I want to speak to the Welfare Promotions Unit
which has been rolling out the vaccination program of the novel oral polio vaccine, which has been widely advertised in the city. We saw quite commendable work as they went for the little infant who had to be protected against this polio myelitis disease. But I'm a little bit worried, Your Worship, about what are called the vaccine objectors. It is given in the statistics here that out of a total of 100 people of a certain religious sect, only 10 agreed to be vaccinated, which is something like 90%, close to 90% of the people totally refuse to be vaccinated. The worry now is these efforts are done in good faith in the interest of protecting our young population. But if we are going to have some people object to vaccination, I think this is quite concerning, because we then expose the rest of everyone else to the prevalence of this disease. So I think we need to take a stand. As councillors, we need to take a stand as the communities, together with elders and everyone else, so that we make sure that our young lives are protected. Thank you very much.
Anyone before 12?
Mine is on item 12. I'm so worried on the issue of food e-waiting list. The number is now so large, ukuthi esakwaniseki ukusebenzisa. Umbuzo wami uthi, Chairman, ngilo mzamo bani elilawo ukuthi sincediseke ngenamba le esikhona esibonayo 141,000 waiting list. Same same item table 2.5. Lapha ngifuna ukunika nje an advice kumbe an encouragement ukuthi no lama issues esilawo esiwareceive his worship was encouraging efficiency nenza ukuthi agents ukuthi no when the issue comes kithi as responsible people kumele sibe the agents. Now I'll give an example ukuthi kule issue magweko issue yayimele isolve. It is like this one ukuthi no kulama double allocation but akasolve up to today. Afanana futhi le ndaba emagweko. Indaba emagweko yayimele isolve kudala but abantu abasayisovanga in due time. At the end of the day sesiblemana sesibophisana, which is not fair. Table 2.6 on same item. His worship ufuna ukuzwisisa from the chairman ukuthi kungani abantu bengaphiwa ownership. Maybe kulama restrictions akhona. Zanika an example what 13 particular iminela. Lokithi la yakwa 1948, 1952 abantu bahlala, 1980 kwaba independence sazivusa. But up to now abantu abakaphiwa ownership. I don't know ukuthi chairman uthini ngakho lokho. On the same issue, chairman, Slama structures or Slama buildings as council ahleziyo kuphela amanye ahlala abantu abangasebenzi ecounselini. Bekumzamo omuthi ukuthi liyawananzelele maybe renovate ama buildings like iBMC Mvundu Chigili buildings our city council where singananzelela on this number ye-waiting list kulabantu bethu abe-city council ama-workers ethu abakhona apha phakathi bekukuhle ukuthi as council sirenovate ama-buildings sinike sihlalise ama-workers ethu labo babe motivated ukuthi no umqashi uyabakhangela. Lingayenza istop lizananzelela ukuthi ama-building e-city council amanye amaningi angkhona ahlezi abantu abanye there are no more serving workers e-city council sebaretire kudala sokuteza abazukulu but i-property e-city council whereby ama-serving workers kumele bahlale khonapho. Asenze njengohulumeni public works ukuthi ingakunika indlu ungaphuma umsebenzi yakunika 3 months uphume ungene omunye umuntu olokhu esebenza olokhu esebenza. Ngalokho his worship nithi asikuthatheni sinike ama-workers ethu accommodation ngoba bakhona ku-141,000 la. Sabo.
Isn't it? No further debate. Councillor? Nothing further on 12. On 12, ma'am?
Item 12 on 2.9.
Please.
Abahlali be-BNC security compound okumele bephume ngokulungiswa komgwaqo. Babhalela ukhansila incwadi becela bathi yebo siyakwazi ukuthi akumelanga sibe khona phana ngoba bengasasebenzi e-city council. Abasebenzi e-city council ukhanya balutshwana kodwa babhala incwadi becela ukuthi ungaba njani ukuthi belingisele ivundu flat liyana commissioner ukuthi beyehlala khona labazancedisa ukulungisa ngoba benganandawo yokuhlala. Kuyisikhalazo esivela kubahlali be-BNC babhalile incwadi ku-council ukuthi bacela ukuthi balungiselele ivundu flats abalandayo ukuthi besukela phana beyehlala. So yisicelo sivela kuzakhamizi thengisedlulisa.
Any further debate on this? I'm going to just... Oh, sorry, Councillor. I beg your pardon. You have the floor.
I want to start by congratulating a future Dulles Kaya Arts for winning NAMA Awards. That group is resident in my ward and they are doing well. I think it's Kaya Arts for putting us on the map. They are doing a very splendid work, especially in the ward. It's one of the groups or the people who are even sponsoring less privileged people. They are paying school fees for them. They are doing clean up campaigns in the ward. They are actually employing young people to participate in the group. And they are happy. We received them from Harare on Friday. They were in the jovial mood, and we are planning a reception for them as a ward, so that we give them a due respect that they deserve for putting us on the map. However, we want to appeal to the chairperson of the committee and also to stakeholders to help them improve the lapho abayenzela khona abapracticela khona. The structure is dilapidating, and we are appealing to stakeholders, to the committee chairperson, to actually visit the place so that they can see how best they can improve that Chabalala Youth Arena. Ngombono wetu, we would want to appeal to turn that infrastructure into a cultural center in the world, where not only people around our world to come there and participate, but other people from other worlds to come there. So we want to appeal to the stakeholders, to the business community, to help in that regard, so that we spruce up the youth center for further programs that will be coming, because they are lined up. I was with them this morning in my office. They are planning other events at that particular place, but the place is not up to standard. So that's my appeal to council, to the chairperson, to look into that. Thank you very much.
What item?
Item 15, Your Worship. Your Worship, you have spoken a lot in your opening remarks about efficiency. I want to speak to the education section monthly report, which indicates that city council schools have not received beam allocation funds. You know, beam allocation funds, the basic education assistance module for the underprivileged children. The report shows us that council schools have not received beam allocation from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education since partially 2022 was paid. 2023, no allocations. 2024, no allocations. We can't talk about 2025 with such a backlog. I find it strange, Your Worship, that the city of Bulawayo schools can be expected to operate with such a backlog. You know the needs of our schools. We know the resources that the schools need. We know the innovations that they need. Schools need capacitation. Schools need equipment like ICT. Schools need to also improve on energy efficiency. But just imagine, beam allocation hasn't been done from as far back as 2022. So I want to find out from the committee what steps they are taking to ensure that government releases these funds so that our council schools can operate efficiently.
Any further debates? Before we move on, I just want to touch on two of the issues raised. Firstly, I want to speak on the issue of housing. And coming to efficiency, we have this housing list, but one of the problems that we face, in my view, is that the housing lists themselves are opaque. In other words, it is difficult for people who have applied to see where they are on the list. And when things are opaque, that is a field for manipulation of lists, and we urgently need to move ahead to ensure that those lists are digitalized and updated regularly so that they can be accessed on the website. And if there are any irregularities, those who have applied for stands need to have an easy means of checking. A related issue to that comes back to the issue of efficiency. Councillors will recall that at our last council meeting, there was a demonstration here. And since our last meeting, there was a very vigorous demonstration from residents concerning, and it touches on this issue, concerning stand allocations in Magwegwe West, Magwegwe Extension, and other areas. And it's very important for me, because this is televised, to make a statement in this regard. I've been heavily involved personally in meetings with many of these residents, in particular with the residents of Bulawayo West, which is arguably the worst affected area. And the problem that we face as a council is that both the council and the residents affected have been compromised, have been prejudiced, in essence, by Statutory Instrument 33 of 2019, which converted the US dollar to the Zimbabwe currency. And it meant that residents who had paid in hard currency to the council in anticipation of stands being developed had their money converted into Zimbabwe dollars overnight. And as we all know, that money evaporated in the course of a few weeks and months. And the council is now faced with the predicament of trying to develop these stands, and it is no cheap task to put in the water connections and the sewerage connections and to build roads, all of which takes hard currency. And yet these residents are justifiably angered because they acted in good faith themselves by paying the council. We face ourselves as a council a catch-22 situation. It is very difficult to resolve in this situation where residents' money literally has evaporated. And the council, our management, cannot be held to account or to be blamed for that because it was beyond their control. But it's important that the public know that we as a council and management are determined to try to work out how to resolve this in the best interests of everyone. It cannot be done overnight because we can't produce the money overnight. But we believe that we, in negotiation with residents, are working out a plan of action where we deal with one area at a time. And our appeal to residents who are affected by this is that when they see us acting in good faith and resolving some of the problems, then we ask that they pay their top-up so that we have the ability, that the money to be able to do further projects. But it is key to this issue of the housing backlog. We need to be innovative, and we cannot allow ourselves as a city to fall to the terrible standards that we see in the capital, where there's unregulated building of houses. We can't allow our city to degenerate like that, but it's going to take a collective effort. Let me conclude by a few comments on education. As you know, Councillor, in a previous life, I was responsible for that. When I was last responsible, we had 300,000 children countrywide who were in need of beam assistance. That was over a decade ago. I know that figure is now considerably higher than 300,000. And it is a very serious problem for our nation. It's a very serious problem for us as a city. Because where children don't have even a basic education, they lose hope, they resort to drugs and alcohol and crime, and that then spills out and makes cities ungovernable. And I think that the question raised to the chair is a valid one. This is, if this is an unacceptable situation. And if central government can't address it, then we are going to have a serious look at our own budget to see if we can make savings somewhere to assist. But we need to realize that, in essence, if these children go without an education, we are not only squandering their future, we're squandering the future of our city. And we will destroy the city that we know and love at present. Ma'am, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Worship, for alluding to some of the issues, especially the housing waiting list. All I can say is that as a committee or department, our plan is to avail 3,000 stands per year. That is through private developers. But as for now, we always advertise the available stands. Hence, all those who will be interested are supposed to pay a deposit for the stands. Councillor also alluded that even some of our employees are on waiting lists. That is very true. I think some will be failing to afford to pay deposits. It's not like during those olden days, maybe when we were able to get our houses at a low cost fee. May alluded to the fees for servicing, which is very expensive to service, and now we are not servicing as a city council, but we are depending on private developers. Then the Mabutweni issue, I think the hindrance is the financial resources for servicing roads and the sewer. I think we are all aware of the project of toilets construction, which took place at Mabutweni, but due to financial resources, it's at standstill for now. Then again, there was a question, I think it was a question or comment concerning polio vaccination. We do have some who are not cooperating due to their religious beliefs, and we really cannot force them, but there are some steps which are taken. Some councillors, together with the community health sisters, are trying to make some health awareness to those churches. I think it has worked well to some areas, but it's an ongoing process. We are going to continue with the engagements. Then BMC Makokova, there is structural assessment which is ongoing for now. Then afterwards, that's when we are going to see the renovation course. But that the nature of that hostel was for single men, and also it was for city council employees. I rest my case.
Thank you. Do we move the report?
No.
Thank you. Chair of Environmental Management and Engineering, would you move your report, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I move that the report of the Environmental Management and Engineering Services Committee held on the 17th of April 2025 is submitted be received with the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do you have a seconder? Debate, please. Deputy Mayor.
What item 19?
Item 3.
Item 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, well, one, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, item 1 is on fire and ambulance services. As I was reading through the report, I realized that there's a paragraph which is talking about the response to flooding, since it was under our fire brigade department. I just wanted to make a proposal that I think the raise that we had this year actually exposed some of the weaknesses that we have in our city. I wanted to make a proposal that if it was possible, funds permitting, we start drainage clearing as early as possible, so that at least we avoid some of the disaster that we faced this year. Over the years, maybe it was not like that because we were receiving low rainfall. But this year we were exposed by the rain. So I just wanted to make a proposal to the department that if possible, funds permitting, can we start the drain clearing as early as possible so that we avoid some of these disasters. That is my contribution on item 1. I don't know if we should go on.
Let's just see where everyone's at. Councillor, what? True. So you have the floor, I'll come back to you, Councillor.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to start by expressing my appreciation to the department and committee for the efforts that they implemented in trying to mitigate the challenges faced by residents in Harrisburg, which is a high-lying area. Some efforts have been made and I've been receiving positive feedback from some of the residents. Of course, at this stage, not everyone is happy, but there is hope that we're actually going to get there. And in that same breath, I want to encourage perhaps a faster response maybe to the issues around jungle finance, which is another highlight area. And as I write on this item, Your Worship, there is an issue that we spoke to about our water bowsers. I think we need to have an honest conversation around this issue. It is highly likely that there are some items on our list of broken down vehicles and yellow machines, which maybe can be fixed without going through a lot of hurdles. This will, in the long run, help us. You know, it is very difficult sometimes. Maybe a Bowser breaks down in your ward as a councillor. This is something that actually happened, and we could not really turn our backs on that situation. We rendered the assistance that was within our abilities, and the vehicle made its way back to town. But I think to prevent such situations from happening, we need to have that audit, which we were alluding to earlier on, so that maybe we can have a more efficient system of delivery. Let me just once again express my appreciation to the department. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on 2. Councillor. Okay. Anyone else on 2?
Thank you very much, Worship. I want to touch on water-based. From the report, it mentioned that, that I think maybe it's a report from January, we had 582 water-based and leaks combined. And out of the 582, 407 were attended to. Hoping that the figure is correct on the number of votes which were attended, which is 407. And I would want to applaud the department for an improvement, because last report, I think our figures are corner of the number of tests which have been attended were very low. This is a significant improvement, and I also hope it's also going to even improve on our non-revenue water losses that we're having as a city. I wanted to appreciate that improvement. And still on that, I also wanted to request Your Worship that this department get more funding, because this is the engine of the city. We are facing a lot of challenges whenever they are this base. A lot of times, sometimes we report, they will tell you that we don't have a car, you know, challenges with regards to transport are always mentioned whenever we make reports on base and these leaks. And then on the same item, I also wanted to talk about an area which is in my ward, Your Worship, which is facing serious challenges with water. I think this has been a challenge over the years before I even became a councillor, which is Magogo West Extension. I've tried to engage the department so that at least maybe something could be done. I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I believe that this problem should have a solution somehow. So it's also a proposal that I'm also putting in the challenge to the department to say, can you look into that area so that maybe a lasting solution could be found on the issue of Magogo West Extension. Thank you.
On 2?
Yes. Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Lapha ku-item 2 sanitation lapha. Sithanda ukubonga kakhulu i-department yena le yokwenza i-ground nganje. But njibani belungisa laphana i-problem singayilungisa ngani as long ama-pump station efile ambona ukuthi sikulungisayo. Ngoba into esingayenza maybe siqale sidinge ngani ama-pump station siyalungisa laphana ku-ground at least bayalungisa kakhulu and they are doing well, but i-pump station ifile. So ambona ukuthi sabe senzeni maybe siqale silungise i-pump station first, then sisizabuya ngapha ku-ground because siyabe sifuqa everything ngalo, but as well i-pump station nili ingalungi ngadingi lapho. Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ku-item 3 ngizathanda ukuchayela ikomiti leyi ihlombe ngomsebenzi onzima kangaka abawenzayo, loba kusinda kubo kwehlele kunzima phandle lapha amasuwa aphuphuma yonke indawo, kodwa ke kungasoni indaba yabo ukuthi kabakwazi ukusebenza. Siyababona imihla lamalanga besenyuka besebenza nzima gadalala. Mhlawumbe engithanda ukuphakamisa lapha Nkosi ukuthi asidlaleni indima sonke nini, sincedisaneni ama-councillors, i-community, lo city council, ngoba lento leyi ihlasela sonke. Ngikhuluma kakhulu ngoba okuningi esikubonayo okabe kuphuma mhlawumbe indlela esiswela ngayo information singabahlali ukuthi kuyini okumele kulahlelwe ngaphi, kuyini okumele kungalahlelwa ngaphi. Mhlawumbe ikomiti le ingaqhubeka ifake information ihlala yazise umphakathi through ama-councillors kumbe through ama-social media ukuthi izinto ezinjengamathumbu embuzi nxa selithe layibulala kafakwa ku-drainage nxa lingawadli. Izipunu kasizifaki ku-drainage. Mhlawumbe that information singayifaka ibe open ebantwini. Abanye abalalwazi kuthiwa abantu bayakubhubha ngokuswela ulwazi. Yithi mhlawumbe singabaniki i-information ngoba siyananzelela ukuthi uBulawayo ngendlela asegcwele ngayo abantu sebamuva from emakhaya mhlawumbe bezodinga imisebenzi, therefore sokule overpopulation. Kodwa ke bayidinga ke imfundiso from thina ukuthi sibancedise okwenza ukuthi lathi sizincedise singathwali nzima ngalokho esikwenzayo ukuthi sistop isu. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to rise on item 3. As I appreciate the work that has been done by private contractors in my ward, I believe that this work will amount to nothing if it is not matched by an adequate, robust, and engaging awareness campaign on how residents can play a part in looking after our sewer infrastructure. It is important to note that when these blockages are cleared, you find some of those manholes have literally been turned into refuse receptacles. You find rocks of a size that cannot be lifted by little children. So children are obviously factored out of the burden of responsibility in that area. But now we need an awareness campaign that will move in tandem with such efforts so that everyone takes ownership and responsibility for those cleared sewer pipes and every other item which falls within the area of infrastructure. We need to find a way of rolling this out as soon as possible, because we would like to avoid a situation where, having cleared these blockages which are caused by human negligence, we then have to return to those same places to correct those same mistakes after they recur. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. On the same item 3, on the sewer section, I would want the House to note that of late, Worship, I've been reporting sewer base in my ward and areas around my ward, and the response that I've been getting is that there's a track. I think maybe they use the clustering system to cluster certain suburbs under one cluster, so that maybe they use one track, and the track which was supposed to save that area was not functioning, and this has affected most of the areas within and around my ward a lot. And I just wanted to appeal to the committee that they try to speed up the process of fixing that track so that at least our areas can be saved well. And still on that, I also wanted to note, Worship, that we are having a challenge. I would want to believe, I don't know whether it's out of a policy or what, that whenever there is a sewer based at a school, it's supposed to be given a first preference. But of late, I've been noting that this has not been the case. I've on several occasions reported, for example, a sewer based at Magwegwa High, and it has gone for weeks without being attended. And I would want, I know that maybe there might be some serious challenges there with whether it pipes or whatever, but I would want to believe that this area should be given a first preference. If there is need for something to be done with the piping, I think the priority should also be given to these areas which are around schools, so that they won't affect school kids. That's my contribution.
Thank you. We're on item 3.
Yes.
Item 3, Councillor. Deputy Mayor, what is it?
19.
19.
Thank you.
Item 3.
Yes. Thank you, Worship. I don't know, it is true that especially in old suburbs, the sewer also system is old. Is it not possible, Chairperson, to revamp the sewer system, to start afresh, to replace everything? Is it not possible? If it is possible, how much is needed? Maybe probably paid. Maybe, for example, in my ward in Chavala, can't we come up with such kind of a thing to say we want to zero in this section in removing old pipes and putting new ones? Is it not possible to go that route than to constantly say where we have a flowers, it comes back? Is it not expensive going that route for many years, rather than to say what is the lasting solution to deal with this? Then you focus on that, you look for resources, you repair, and you can probably go for years without these challenges going on. Thank you.
We're on item 3. Anyone else on item 3? Item 8.
Item 3. Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to show my appreciation to the Department of Engineering, and I want to make specific mention to Case Banda. I had a sewer feedback in my Achula that I inherited when I came in as a councillor, or Your Worship. When I
as a mayor.
Exactly a statement. Your Worship, I came across that sewer feedback on a weekend. We had the consultations for the glass block dam, where I was confronted by the residents of Machula South. I immediately picked up a phone and called Deputy Director Spanda. And I sent videos afterwards, taking a walk to the area. She assured me that on a Monday she was going to dispatch a team to look into that problem, which had been there, which had been in existence from the time these houses were built, and the error being that had emanated from the developers. On that very same week, on Monday evening, she gave me feedback on WhatsApp and explained that the challenge had been identified and it had been from the previous guys who were given the tender. By Friday, they had sorted the problem permanently and to this day. So the residents of Machula South, that section, as their messenger, sent me to come and show their gratitude to the team that Kwanele Spanda led to ameliorate the challenge they were having for years. And they were saying they could not believe that the challenge that took them so many years was sorted in 5 days. And thank you so much, Engineer Spanda and your team. But again, I want to emphasize that the sewer blocks-based challenge is also intertwined with the issue of water. And therefore, I want us to explore many other ways of ensuring that apart from gas block dam, if other dams could be built, that would go a long way in assisting our situation, because as we were told when we were reading the glass block dam, we were told that even if that dam was to be full and the other existing dams full, because of growing population and migration from rural to urban, because of the economic challenges, we still won't have enough water. And given the climatic change challenges that are obtaining currently, and the manner in which water evaporates from our dams, it is a worrying concern that with the little attention that we seem to get either from government or for the well-wishers to come and assist in the city of Bulawayo in the plight of water, we are likely to stay with these sewer chokes and sewer blockages. And again, the issue of culture change. Our parents were more smarter than ourselves, because we are responsible. A lot of the sewer chokes that we find ourselves in are an outcome of self-inflicted injuries by us as residents, where we deposit a lot of trash, pampers, we throw stones, and sometimes even we cut tires and throw them in there, like Councillor A.R. Moyo elucidated earlier on. So I want to implore that as councillors represented in each ward, we emphasize with our residents to ensure that they don't deposit these things into our sewer system, because when the best obtains, it does not affect you alone who recklessly throw things into the sewer system, but it affects innocent residents as well. And because of the challenges we are having of lack of money and the unapproved budget, sometimes the team won't be having adequate resources to come and attend to these faults, forcing residents and children to swim in sewer for days and weeks. Yet some of the things could be avoided by in the manner in which we carry ourselves in our communities.
Thank you, Councillor. I just want to add to your remarks. As we all know as councillors, there are many complaints about sewerage bursts and potholes across our city, and it's dangerous to single out individual members of staff. But I do want to endorse what you say, that Engineer Sibanda and, let it be said, Engineer Dibidi and their staff are battling against the odds. But my own experience of them both is that they are trying in very difficult circumstances. And it's important that the public understand that. And so thank you for your remarks, and congratulations to their departments. We're going slowly through this. We're still on item 3.
Item 8.
Item 3, ma'am. Item 16, 8, the Deputy Mayor's 12.
19.
19, rather.
Yes.
14, so 8. You are?
2025.
No, you're out of, you'll come later. Item 8.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 8 is talks about the request that we received for the sewer connection proposed lots 1 of 83 of subdivision A of 11 Montgomery Bulawayo. Then there is a recommendation that was resolved on item 2 that says that the development will install a flow meter to quantify the inflows into the sewer outflow. This outflow meter will be billed monthly to developer. Failure to pay will result in the disconnection until bill was cleared. Thank you very much, Your Worship. I think it's a very good recommendation. And as finance, we are interested in the cash flows and making sure that these people, they are paying timely. So I'll recommend also that since the Director of Finance is here, we should have a column on these developers showing their monthly payments, so that when these approvals come, we are already in the know-how, if seeing by the statistics, if we are supposed to be working with these developers who are outside Bulawayo, who are requesting to be connected to the city of Bulawayo. In the past, you've been receiving a considerable number of developers outside the city of Bulawayo. We have requested to be part of Bulawayo. So it will be imperative to have such a table going forward to analyze and see if it's making sense. Because at the end of the day, we are alluding to on item 3 that we have got a challenge with sewer maintenance. But if you are bringing people on board, maybe who are not paying timeously, is something that you, as a city, maybe you might need then to reconsider. So I would like to ask the Department of Finance to have this table next month and going forward, so that we see as finance if we can incorporate such developers going forward. I think.
So that's 8. Who's next? 14. Anyone before 14? Councillor, you've got the floor. Councillor, before you speak, we're obviously progressing fairly slowly through this, and I ask councillors to be as concise as possible. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to appreciate it's item 14, to appreciate the response to the department. Bessie Kala and my colleague alluded earlier on Ahmad donation. The department have responded by giving us some dates. My request is on duration, 40 days. Last year, especially in my ward, Pelandaba, there are bridges, were been blocked for so long, and they need proper tools to remove the sand. So with these rains this year which we received, as my colleague said, we're caught unaware. A lot of old bridges have been blocked. So my request to you, can we extend or can we get more days or to have more days so that who complete these drainages or these bridges, because it's a lot of drainage have been damaged. They need adequate time. With the 40 days, I think we will not finish. We will not finish. Otherwise, I could propose 60 days. 40 days, I see we won't finish. Thank you.
Right, that's item 14.
Also 14.
Also 14.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Kusemndokuze. Mina isicelo sami ngibengicela ukuthi kulaba abaklina ama drainages. Nxa bangathola kulisuka lapha Nkosi, bachiya kunjalo. Sokuphelile. So ngibengawazi ukuthi khona laba abe-works labe suwa nxa sokuhlangene basitshela ukuthi hayi isuwa iso yami but ikuma trenches, so imele iqale bekhiphe laba abesuwa beqale bekhiphe isuwa yabo. So nxa kungela laba abayitho esibaqatshileyo abemalokitshini abavunyela ukubambi idoti liyana because it's blocked ngaphansi kwama bridges. So kuhlala kunjalo, that's why libone kwaze kwathatha umntwana ube songasela manje ukuthi ahambe because ngaphansi kwama bridge lapha is blocked. So sicela ukuthi maybe i-department ibe le dealer lama lokhuzeni lama bridges kuphela bangaso laba abahamba bekhina ama trenches. Angazi khonapho Nkosi ukuthi nxa lingasenzela ifavor njalo ngoba already bangathola kulesuwa laba abethu abe community kabasangeni khonapho. So kusele for next year futhi. So uhlala kublockile. So sicela ukuthi i-department nxa ingasenzela ukuthi isilethele kuphela abazahamba bedila ngama bridges kuphela bevula ama bridges lawana avalekileyo. Isicelo sami. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Can I just make a quick comment? I mean, bridges are one thing, but the other thing are just the basic drains outside people's houses. We can't expect, and once again, I want to appeal to the public here. We can't expect a council that has a huge backlog. What we need are residents to clean out the drains outside their own homes. If everyone does that, it will improve the situation. We don't expect them to deal with bridges and the actual sewerage system. But can you imagine if every resident took the time to go outside their own property and clear the drains and connect to their neighbor? It would instantly mean that all this water that comes flowing is dispersed. And so this is an appeal that we must all make as councillors. Thank you. Where are we? We item 14. 14. Ma'am? Councillor, you have the floor.
Maybe on the same item, Mayor. Esikucelayo like uCouncillor Susan is saying, ama-drain clearing esingakupropose maybe ku-committee ukuthi babe bekwazi ukuthi iwaphaselele. Loba thina ama-residents sizafisa ukuwalungisa, i-equipment edingakalayo silayo. So i-department ayibekwazi ukuthi which drainages ezinga-attendwanga. Nxa bele equipment, then they give us to the councillor so that we work. Because kufuneka equipment which we don't have. The drainages are big, lapho kuyabe kubloke khona. The resident bengafisa ukusebenza but equipment kasilayo. So it's up to the department to know ukuthi drainage liyana ayikliwanga, reason being sewer blockage only. Then we follow up on that because there is no follow up for now. Ekugcina ikhozela ukuthi ama drainages ayenza ama flooding or other things ezilimaza ama residents ako Bulawayo.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd like to respond as well. I come back to this thing of efficiency and all of us thinking smart about this. You know, we think that many of these issues need big caterpillars, expensive equipment. We have companies here that manufacture spades and other in our city, and we have thousands of unemployed young people who've got no hope. Surely we can think smart. and buy spades in large numbers and employ youngsters and give them work and money in their pocket. That doesn't require foreign exchange, and we could dramatically transform our city if we did that. Working, as you say, closely with councillors who can assist to identify young people in their wards who can do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. On item 14, regarding road maintenance, I'm sure that you will agree with me that the rains we experienced left us in a terrible state regarding our road infrastructure. And it also exerted an unprecedented amount of pressure on the department. A department which I must add was doing so well, and we could all see that. Now, I think for us to get to the position we were in before the rains, we need to treat this current situation as an emergency. And in treating it as an emergency, let's look inside and let's look outside. If it requires us to explore partnerships with organizations that wish to implement CSR programs and other friends of the city, then let's do that. We need to do this as a matter of urgency. And I am sure that if we address this as an emergency, it will take us to a position where the department can then feel a reduction in pressure and continue with their planned maintenance. It is also my view, Your Worship, that some of these problems also have to do with perception. A large amount of these problems should be communicated properly to our residents so that even our residents can play a part. But now, if we do not communicate these problems properly, our residents may not even be interested in playing a part. So when it comes to issues like this, we also need our Department of Corporate Communications to come in and be proactive with communication and show residents how they can play their part and how we are playing our part as it is. This will improve relations and it will bring ownership to most of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm afraid I can't stop myself from responding to you as well, because coming back to the previous councillor's remarks, it's not just a matter of clearing drains. It is also a matter of getting residents and others to help us get channels to evacuate water off our tarred roads. When we met with the CEO of Zanara, and many of you have heard me say this before, but it bears repeating, the biggest enemy of tar roads is water. Where you see water gathering on roads, potholes develop. And yet if you drive across our city, you will see that we've neglected in clearing these channels off tar roads. And residents and others can do that if it's coordinated with the relevant department. It's the same thing. With shovels, we can do that. And then when we get water quickly off the tar road, we get less potholes. We're still on item 14. Ma'am. Item 14? Thank you.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ngiku item 14. Ngilesicelo Nkosi. Umgwaqo oya eLuveve Cemetery usuwonakele. Ngicela ngifisa ubana nxa kusenzeka liye unanzelela awusekho muhle ngoba uyakuthwele abathuleyo. Nxa kusiwa beka othuleyo sokusiba nzima ukuhamba kwezimota lebhokisi emuva. Ngilesicelo sokubana ngilungisele umgwaqo weLuveve Cemetery ngokuphangisa. Ngibe sengizocela nginanzelela ukubana item 3 ngingabamba item 3 ukuthi ngize njalo item 14. Asesithi hayi yona ngikubambanise. Ngicela into ngixolele
ngibambanise u-item 3 no-item 14. Ku-item 3 ngilesicelo i-youth center leluveve stadium akula manzi, akula sambuzi. I-toilet ye-youth center ayisebenzi. Nxa ngibuza bathi kwablokha kudala akusasebenzi vele abasayisebenzisi. La nxa singenela ama-meeting akusekho kuhle. Sokusenza ukubana abantwana bengadlaleli e-youth center. Ngilesicelo sokubana nginanzelele ngilungisele i-youth center iluveve stadium iswela amanzi, ithole amanzi. Ungathi phakathi kwesikhathi nxa amanzi engekho iyabe ingelawo total. Banze ukuyacela amanzi eluveve housing. Ngicela kunanzelele. Ngiyabonga.
Have we exhausted item 14? Oh.
Thank you, Siyabonga, boss. On same item, you are giving us guidance. Siyabonga. Give me what? People are prepared to clean up our party. As my senior candidates say, we need ama tools. We are prepared. We will lead by example. I'll be there with my team.
Have we finished with item 14?
Yeah.
Then item 16, thank you.
Okay, on this one, I stand to be guided. We're talking about equity. So the report says a notice was given, a 6 months notice. So I wanted to find out, what in this 6 months, these people, will they be working or they are put on hold? Can we know the conditions of the notice? Because I feel like as councillors, we don't have much information on what is happening with equity. I was going to come with a suggestion whereby maybe if we are to meet these people from Terra Code so that we can understand them properly. What exactly is going on? What are their challenges? How are they failing? So that we get a bigger picture of the thing and we say it with them. Because as you notice, last time when we went to Equidin, there were vendor stalls in the rank, but still the combis go and park outside. So is it a matter of enforcement, or it's a whatever issue is going on there is not understandable? So I feel like maybe as councillors, as city mothers and fathers of the city, we are talking of development. We want to see development. I remember in our group sometime 2 weeks back or last week, one councillor sent a mall that was being built in a small town like Kwek. But in Bulawayo, we're still concentrating on Sletterbush, shops, London, and Kodini is still on standstill. So I think let's meet these guys so that we get proper information on what's going on. Probably it's something that we are not understanding because we have residents to answer to. So can it be clear to the house and to the councillor so that we can answer our residents properly on what is happening on Ekodin? I thank you.
Councillor, let me respond briefly. That we have already resolved that we want to have a workshop on Egodin.
Okay.
It is another illustration of us battling because our budget has not been approved. We cannot have workshops because our budget has not been approved. So you've got a critical issue like Egodini that we cannot deal with because our budget hasn't been approved. As soon as our budget is approved, that workshop will be held. Item 19. Any issue before 19? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Item 19, I want to commend this company for adopting the road. And my plea to the council, Worship, is that we accelerate marketing the city. I know that we are marketing it, but I want us to accelerate so that we market it outside Zimbabwe, in the diaspora. There are many Zimbabweans living outside the country who would want or would like to assist the city by adopting our roads, by adopting our street lighting and even our buildings to make sure that they are properly maintained. Therefore, I propose that maybe we formulate an interdepartmental committee which we can send to the diaspora to address Zimbabweans living outside Zimbabwe to come and assist us. They are there, but there is no platform for them. So I propose that we send a team to go and address Zimbabweans living in South Africa, in Europe or America, so that they come and assist us here by adopting the roads, adopting street lighting, and even some building. They are eager to assist, but there is no platform for that. Even tourism, they may assist us here and there. So that's my proposal, Lordship, that we have that team so that we market it and they come here to assist the city. I thank you.
Thank you. Any other items? Item.
25.
Anyone before? Any item before 25?
I'll try to be very short. I just wanted to request the department that we have proper reports on what is happening with our tower lights. Because we have tower lights which have gone for years, in some cases for 10, 15 years, before we even came in as councillors, which have not been working. And in some cases, we also have tower lights when you just discover that there is maybe one light which is, one bulb which is working probably out of a possible 4 or 5, which just shows you that maybe there is a minor issue which needs to be attended. Maybe you just need to buy more bulbs. So I think they should also come forward and say exactly what is happening, so that if there are residents who want to assist in buying some of the things that are needed, they feel free to do so. And also, like, I would want to touch on what the DM has just said and what you said also on your open remarks. That we would want to appeal with our management that if we have individuals who come forward, say maybe they want to assist with something, they should not be so difficult. The process should not be difficult for people to come and say they want to assist. We have had individuals in our areas who tell you that, I approached the management, I wanted to do this on this library, I wanted to buy maybe cables for this tower light, or I just wanted to assist in terms of the lighting. And the response takes ages up until the people give up. So they should try and be receptive, flexible, so that we get assistance as much as we can, because on our own we are failing to manage the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. You missed your chance, I'm afraid, Councillor. We're on 25. And as they say, the principle is if you snooze, you lose. But I will make an exception, Councillor. Please be short. Thank you.
Yes, I will be short. If councillors recall, once a complaint in councillors' staff group about abuse of council vehicles. Engineering chairperson, Councillor Sekete, once reported a Bowser that was parked into the complex. He found the driver inside a betting shop during working hour. Yes, we have one Bowser in the seat. We are all struggling to get the service of that Bowser. That particular one Bowser, that particular one driver is at a betting shop during working hours. We requested that an investigation be conducted through the councillor and staff group. We have not received. I think it's a 2-month-old report. We have not been briefed on what was going on with that Bowser and that driver. Through your office, Mayor, I bring that issue to your attention. Thank you.
Any other items? Chair, will you respond? I'm not sure who's going to respond, the actual chair or the acting chair?
Let me respond.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Before I make my submissions, I thought this Honorable House would applaud our hardworking Assistant Director of Works, Engineer Tiviti, for the great work done at Tower Block. So those. Thank you. Okay, back to my submission, colleagues. You would note that to revamp our sewer system in totality, we need about 495 million US dollars. And we don't have that money at the moment. Our town clerk is on record saying we should invite investors into the city. I will not touch much about that, but there is one investor that is wishing to inject 5 million into our council. So I want to urge you councillors and management to please do not put stringent conditions to these guys who are coming to invest in our council. Then on the issue of one councillor spoke on the issue of awareness campaigns against putting unwanted material into our sewer systems. It is my duty and your duty as the councillor of the responsive ward to make sure you lead those campaigns. I will also ask the information department led by Mrs. Nesisa to also frequently be issuing awareness campaign vouchers on a regular basis, because it is our residents who are responsible again for the damage of our sewers. Of course, they may be old, Your Worship, but old as they are, if you are going to make sure that we do not damage them, they may even expand in their lifespan, Your Worship. Then there is also the issue of Luveve Cemetery. Yes, I would like to concur with Councillor Komete. We note that road, Your Worship, is an important road. Maybe one of us in here this year may be using that road. No, I'm not joking, Your Worship. But just sorry for that. I don't wish you to die. But Your Worship, that is noted, Your Worship. Then last but not least, there's the issue of I think I'm done with my item.
You're
With the Chair of Townlands, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Townlands and Planning Committee meeting held on the 18th of February 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Any debate? We move the report? Okay. Right. Next item. I move that the report of the General Purposes Committee held on the 24th of February be tabled for debate. Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
Is there any debate? You're obviously all hungry. Okay, report. Chair of Finance, please move your report.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on the 25th of February 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Any seconder? Thank you. Any debate?
Move.
Councillor? Sorry?
Item 13.
Is there anything before 13?
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ku-item 13 sikhuluma nge-billing le-debt management. Nkosi Chalimane, izakhamizi ziyakhala. Siyananzelela ukuthi bakhona abantu abalezikweleti. Libabhalela amanothisi lenze konke. Kodwa unanzelela ukuthi uyathola umuntu olesikweleti se-$239 esethola ama-civil summons ole 1,000 something ingakatholi. So indlu yena angikwazi ihlele kanjani. Njalo lokuthi lize lifike kuma-civil summons likwazi ukuthi umuntu lo maybe lama notices kawatholanga. Kuhamba njani? Kuya-affect abanikazi bezindlu, ogogo labokhulu. Unanzelela ukuthi isikhathi esiningi bahlala emakhaya. Babe bechiya abantu bebagcinela indlu. Sesithi sebuya sethola sebizwa ngokuthi sokulama summons, ama-civil summons. And uthi uyathola i-239 ugogo uphiwe 7 days. Kuba lobunzima. But uthola umuntu olesikweleti se-$700, $1,000 gala summon, gala anything. So likukhangela njani nxa libhala izinto zenu zokuthi abantu abalezikweleti libayenza njani? Mbuzo wami.
Any other debate?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
What item, ma'am?
Okay, yesterday when I was by Revenue, Your Worship, I saw there were long queues there. I think it's because of the disconnection and stuff. So what then happened? I saw very old people being chased away. I think it was because of time. Yes, that one it's okay. But to my thinking, I was asking myself, if that old man or that old lady, 70, 80-year-old, is to go back with the money that they wanted to pay today, and when they get home, there are situations that they can take care of using that the same money. Then the next time they won't have the money to pay for the bills. So I'm not understanding why most of them are now coming into town instead of using their city council offices in their wards. So is there anything wrong in their wards, or is it electricity issues, or what issues are there, so that we avoid most of them coming into town and use the offices in their wards, because it becomes easy for them than for them to come into town and being chased away because of time and all those nitty-gritties. And also what I saw was those security guards, they then spend most of their time inside the revenue, not outside the revenue doing their duties, but they are inside the revenue taking changing money, Your Worship. That one, I saw it myself yesterday.
What?
Like the officers, those guys in blue uniforms, instead of them being outside, concentrating on their duties outside, they are now inside, controlling the queues inside, and actually changing money with those that will be coming to pay with USD. Mm-hmm. They don't bring in those ones that will be coming to swipe with USD. They only bring in those that have cash, so that they can get the cash and they swipe with the ZIG. So that one is still there. I remember in our finance meeting, we once had an issue. Is it a finance or an audit, where we had a similar case and we queried how it was handled. But this thing is still persisting. So I don't know how or the relevant departments intend to actually stop this corruption thing, because it has gone too much. That is why you end up having old people not coming in, because they want to swipe a ZIG with their pension funds or whatsoever. But the first preferences will be given to me, myself, a able woman who has no any disabilities or anything, and who is still fresh and young. I'll be the first one to pay, because there is a transition that has to be done. So I don't know how the relevant departments intend to get rid of that situation.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm pleased that you raised this issue because it reminded me that I received a report yesterday from a gentleman who joined the queue at 10 a.m. and by 2 p.m. he had still not been served. That is unacceptable. 4 hours in a queue. And Chair, if there's any issue in finance, the director is here, which is an open sore. It is the fact that our computerized systems are still not functioning. If you have a home in Johannesburg, for example, you get your account via email. You can go onto your account through the internet and ascertain how much money is owed. And you can pay online. This is not rocket science. And we are seriously failing. We need to go onto a paperless billing system so that we pay, that we don't have to pay for postage and all of that. And we need to have access to our accounts, and we need to be able to pay online. I know that we've had issues with third-party suppliers, but this is unacceptable. We can't honestly call ourselves a smart, transformative city if we've got antiquated systems regarding our finances, because these long queues would be completely obliterated if the vast majority of people could pay online through an app on their phone. I'll leave it to the committee. But is there any other debate before we get to you, Chair?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to address the point that she has raised. Chairperson of the Audit Committee.
If councillors have been following our reports, they will remember that there was a case of 4 cashiers that were actually caught, was it a year back or 2 years back, and the case came to the fore. They were getting USD, but getting different swipe cards to collect the cash and the receipt in the local currency. And the case was picked up with audit, and the investigations were done. And those people, when it came to the prosecution, now, the matter really didn't, the prosecution wasn't done using audit evidence. Audit evidence was sidelined, but the prosecution went ahead. It's a tragedy. And when the matter then, the audit brought it up to complain, to say, how was this matter handled? Because there was sufficient empirical evidence against these employees. And it was said that the man who was supposed to prosecute fell sick and he was not there on the actual day of prosecution, which meant to say that the matter had to be adjourned so that it comes to carry on with the prosecution. So the matter, there was a lot of hazy behavior by some of our administrators regards that matter. So in the end, the matter then came to GP. The GP committee set to look at that matter. And those people were exonerated from wrongdoing. But instead, evidence was pointing to the fact that they had to be dismissed. So this is a serious challenge. I think things are not going right in the revenue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor wants to speak.
Thank you. I want to clarify what Councillor Angel just said concerning the GP. General Purpose Committees is the appeals committee. So when the matter came, it was an appeal from one of those accused. The other ones were exonerated before their case came to us. Therefore, we could not dig into exactly to what happened. So we dealt with the appeal. Yes, you are right. Our feeling was that if they were guilty, all of them were supposed to be guilty. If they were not guilty, all of them were not supposed to be guilty. Our word was that only one was dismissed from work, while least others were exonerated. So we dealt with the appeal of the one who was dismissed, not the other one. The others, their case didn't come to GP. I wanted to make that clarification.
Councillor, I think you've opened a hornet's nest here. Do you want to speak to this issue? Item 18. I'm not sure. And what items? What item?
14.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay. On what you mentioned, I just wanted to make a plea to the committee if possible, try and speed up the release of funds for detention, so that the process of like acquiring whatever material that is needed by the other departments, so that they could come into the projects that we requested for, be done in time, because we are 2 years into the office. Most of the projects that we submitted have not been touched. So that is my contribution. Thank you.
Councillor, I commend you for raising this. And Chair, once again, the Ward Retention Fund, I come back to this, what I hope is the theme for today's meeting, efficiency. We are told that the money is sitting there. In my own ward, we had projects approved. When I tried to implement the project, we've been presented with all sorts of obstacles. It is unacceptable. And we need to have the committee look into this so that that money is released to the projects which have been approved. Because we have been assured that the money is held in US dollars, so it's holding its value, but it must be dispersed. Thank you.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Item 18. Ngilesicelo Nkosi ukuba ama-community groups lawa eqeda umsebenzi abasenzela wona phandle ngale. Kasingathathini isikhathi eside sokuthi sibanike khonokho sibabonga ngakho. Ngoba isikhathi abayabe sisebenzile bengayenzi okunye ukuthi labo baphilise izimuli. Lesikhathi esiningi ngabaphethe izimuli. Bese ngisithi laphana kuma-rate review ngicabangela ukuthi sebe sidla sehlulela phansi njengenkukhu singukhansili ma singasoze sireviewe indlela esibanika ngayo from last year sithi siyaqhubeka sibanika kwa-last year. Abantu abanankosi ngithanda ukuphakamisa ukuthi basebenza gadala ngabomama nabobaba abayibo abakhangele imizi, the way they were selected ngoba bulutshwana ukuthi benelise ukuthola babhadale ama-rates kakhansili baphinde labo baziphilise ngekhaya. So isikhathi abaspenda laphana bezama ukuthi bayenze umgwaqo ukuthi umsebenzi kakhansili uphele. Kodwa-ke bese sithi thina sizakuma lapha kade sikhona ngomnyaka ophelileyo. Ngicabangela ukuthi siyabe singekho fair. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Any other debate?
Move the report.
Before we move, I just want to touch on the two councillors coming back to the Revenue Hall. It seems to me that one of the things that we need to do is get security cameras in there if they aren't there already. I don't know if if they're there, then they're not being used properly. They need to be analysed to see if we can identify these members of staff who are exchanging money, and they must be prosecuted. It's illegal. Chairman, please respond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yoshi. The Bible says the first shall be the last. The last shall be the first. I'll start from the questions raised at the end. We started with Councillor Mamesa. Councillor Mamesa, I think you are also a member of the Finance Committee. We are coming with a very constructive things that we can implement in finance. I think we can then go back to finance together and discuss those ideas. Thank you very much. Then coming back to Then coming back to Councillor Kayindlovu, she raised a very pertinent issue. Things that you also alluded to of making sure that you are efficient, Your Worship. I will not dispute that people who have worked, people who work for salaries and wages, they are supposed to be paid promptly. So as finance, coordinating with the engineering department, we are supposed to pay those people promptly. But I would like to think maybe it's the engineering department, because ours is just to disperse funds. So if those papers in their working hours even came to finance, it comes a delay, but the delay won't be caused by finance. Then coming to Councillor S. Moyo, she mentioned another pertinent issue, but Councillor S. Moyo, maybe what we do, finance, we have got what is called aging analysis. In aging analysis, even if someone owes $100, maybe if they haven't been paying for the data aging is maybe more than 90 days, which is maybe against the policy, they can then be issued with that letter of demand. But maybe find someone is owing just $700, but they are within the data aging of acceptable policy, they won't get that letter of demand. So it's also imperative to check and find out if that maybe 1,000 maybe wasn't caused by maybe the leaks or someone hasn't extended their house, that maybe it accumulated within 1 or 2 months. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we move the report? Move. Are there any applications for leave of absence? No? So, sorry, I didn't.
25 March.
25. Thank you. And apparently, Councillor Cornwall gave his apologies. He had a family emergency for today. No others? Thank you, councillors. Our meeting is adjourned.
Sabon.